Hi, and thanks so much for joining me for this fragrance-inspired Get Ready With Me. This video is extra exciting for me because it is in collaboration with Sephora. So thank you so much to Sephora for sponsoring this video. Right now they're having a Fragrance for All event that gets you 20% off fragrance with the code FRAGRANCE20. So it's open to all beauty insiders, and I've been a beauty insider of Sephora's for as long as I can remember. I've shopped at Sephora for as long as I can remember. I love their selections. Make sure to head over. You can shop online, you can shop in store, and that's on Sephora and Sephora at Kohl's. This applies to all tiers, whether you're Rouge, VIB, Insider. So it's perks like this that go along with being a beauty insider. This is, again, available until December 24th, so really great for those last minute gifts, and it's available in the US, and of course there are some exclusions and terms that apply. But I picked this one. It is by the Fireplace by Maison Margiela. The fragrance description here says burning wood and chestnut, and I thought that's perfect because it sounds like it's sophisticated yet warm, and that's the look I wanted to put together, and that's what I picked up when I smelled this scent. It's perfect for me, especially for the holidays, so use that as inspiration. I also picked this up by McGrath, which I've been looking at for a while now. It is the blush palette, so it looks like this, and you can see it's got 4 blushes in there. I love layering blushes. I have them all on. So if you're a blush connoisseur, you're gonna wanna see this in action. I've got, again, all 4 shades and the highlighter on. I also have the brush number 71. It's a concealer brush by the Sephora collection, as well as number 45, because I love concealers, and I thought that makes a lot of sense to have different concealer brushes for different parts of the face, different types of concealers. So I always want to up my concealer game, so I thought what a great way to do that with some brushes that are specific to various parts of the face and different purposes. I have a couple of Dior lipsticks we'll be using today. So we've got this bold look here. I'm also using a lip that's a little bit more subtle in case a bold eye is already enough for you. But I thought let's do something really special with this and add a red lip. So I wanted to see how we could get those to work together. I also am using this for the first time on camera, this powder. I want to show you that in action and give you my thoughts on that as well. I'm also using this new Charlotte Tilbury pencil, new to me, and I use that as a base for the eye look. And again, it made it a little bit easier to just use clean hands to apply that eye makeup. So make sure to head over to Sephora online or in store for 20% off full-sized fragrance with FRAGRANCE20. Again, that's available to all tiers through December 24th, and that is a one-time use code. But let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna go ahead and start with a primer I've really been loving this year. It's the Vanish Airbrush Primer by Hourglass. I'm just gonna take about a pump of that. And then let's go in with the Ambient Soft Glow Foundation by Hourglass. And I have mine in the shade 7.5. Got my Shiseido brush here. I thought we could try this one under the eye, and I used this a while ago, but I wanted to revisit. It's the Laura Mercier. It's called the Secret Camouflage Brighten and Correct Duo, and I just revisited the directions as well, and it's the brightening concealer that you used for under the eyes. So let's go ahead and give that a try. This actually makes a lot of sense for this area because it's so creamy, even though it's a stick formula. I'm gonna take, though, this correct side. It's a little bit peachier, a little deeper. I'm gonna take that in the outer corner. It's a little bit more opaque appearing as well, so I'm gonna use that here in the corners. So I'm gonna just take a little of that excess and use it to just even out the eyelid area. Oh, and this is in 3W if you're wondering the shade. Let's go ahead and use this. This is the number 71 Pro Brush Concealer, and this one is a really unique shape. You can see it's wide that way, but then you turn it, you have tapered bristles on one side but not on the other. So I love these unique kinds of brushes. And this is the one that says it's best used for under eye imperfections. So let's get it really nice and smooth here now that I have an initial layer on. Yeah, that does a beautiful job of just blending it in. They have 3 concealer brushes, and I'm gonna use 2 of them here. I do wanna pick up number, let's see, the one I don't have is number 57 for darkness and redness, which would be great for me, but we're just gonna use this today. That gives a really nice airbrush appearance to the under eye concealer. really nice brush. I also have the other one, number 45, we're gonna use here because I've got a couple of blemishes here. So this is a number 45. You can see it's tapered more evenly and then it's thin this way, so a little bit more targeted. So now I'm gonna take number 8.5 by Charlotte Tilbury, the Perfect Skin Radiant Concealer. I'm gonna take a little of that on the back of my hand, right there. I'm gonna take the brush, because it's nice and tapered, just like that. And let's see how well we can get that blended in. I add a little here. And I have some excess, so let me go on these darker areas. Yeah, I definitely need to pick up the number 57 because I love how brushes really help maximize, especially concealer. So that's like that patchwork kind of technique where you just really target the concealer. And this allows for that. Really nice. I'm going to use this too for my darker areas too. So I can see the wisdom in something a little bit fluffier for these areas because they're a bit larger, but let's go ahead and use this. So I do like a flat concealer brush for these areas as well because it's kind of a large area, but I can get in really nicely here around the nose with this one too. Yeah, really great for this area right here. So if you have redness that you're always trying to take care of here, it's a nice shape. I do have redness right around my nose. This one says it's for blemishes and imperfections. Okay, let's go in with bronzer. Yeah, that looks really nice. So typically I don't love like glow on the front of my face, but if you look at this and you don't like powder, this concealer really does a nice job of setting itself, so you don't need to put powder down if you don't want to, and it has a very skin-like appearance. That's definitely an aesthetic I think some people really love. And then since I'm gonna do more dramatic, I'm gonna use something more gentle for the bronzer, so we're gonna go in with the Merit bronzer, which I've been loving. This is in Sen. Using the Merit brush, I love their brush for their bronzer. Going in with this powder that I picked up a while ago, but haven't tried it on camera. I've been kind of playing with it in the background. But what I understood is that it was a very natural, no powder kind of product. And it does have a lovely cooling sensation when first applied. And it does have a lid that's attached so the powder doesn't go everywhere. I'm gonna use this La Mer brush, their powder brush. I'm just gonna apply just to the front. And you'll see how natural it looks. It does have a cooling sensation, as if there's water in it. So for those of you who've asked me about this, I really like it. It's one of the most non-powdery powders I've ever used. So if you don't like the appearance of powder, but you want to set it a little bit, it's lovely. We're gonna go in next with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Brightening Flawless Finish Powder. So this is a finishing powder for sure for me, which I've mentioned before. So I'm gonna just take the same brush and I'm just gonna add a little bit of glow, a little brightening to this front here. For brows, we're gonna use a combo I love, the Gucci pencil and the Dior Onset Brow in 32. This is in 4, the Gucci pencil. Yeah, I still really love that Gucci brow pencil. It's really good. I wanted to do a smoky eye, so I'm gonna line first because it's gonna build some intensity for the shadow, although the shadow's a little intense as well. But we're gonna actually try this with no brushes today because I think the shadow that I'm using is creamy enough to do that. But we're gonna go in with this product by Charlotte Tilbury. It's the dual-sided. I love these dual-sided types of eye products. Eyeliners specifically, and it's in black and champagne. It's called the Exagger-eyes Liner Duo. So I'm going to go above the lash line first and create a wing shape. Really creamy. And I'm going to make this more exaggerated than I normally would. I know I talked about things I typically do or don't do, and in this case we're going to build this kind of bold. Still gonna hold to the idea that I'm gonna start mostly here and then just taper it really gently here. Just don't want to lose as much real estate. So we're gonna do something I don't normally do, but I think to achieve what I have in mind, we're gonna go bold here. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're gonna go over it with shadow. So it's really intense, but it's gonna be a great base for the next part. So even though I mentioned not going all the way to the center, it's funny, when I looked at the playback, I thought that could actually really work well for certain looks, but typically I don't do that. But in this case, I'm gonna bring it a little bit closer, but it's still gonna be really tapered. So it's not an even width the whole way, it's very tapered here, and then it starts to build at the center. And one of you actually mentioned that starting at the beginning is what you do for your eye because it works well for your eye shape. And I've seen that done really, really well. I'm going from this beginning point all the way out with a really heavy line. So definitely when it comes to your features, you know what works best for you. So I have seen that look really beautiful. And the tricky part is, you can see every little part that's not filled in, so we've got to fill that all in. It takes a little bit longer. Let's leave it like that for now. We'll probably go in with that pencil in a little bit, but we're gonna take this Tom Ford palette that I haven't had the chance to use, but I loved these more towards the beginning of the year when they came out. And I just thought, let's use this. It's 35 Rose Topaz. It's one of the ones with a creamier kind of consistency. And we're gonna just use fingers. And that's why I think we can do that with this because actually it was dependent on the brush I was using as well, how application went. So I want to keep this really dense. So I'm just going to use this and apply it to the eye, just like this. It's a lot. You can see how dense you can get this, but that's what I want. I want to build this up to be a really dense layer. So this is really great for if you're traveling too, because sometimes it's just easier to apply makeup without brushes when traveling. So no real crease color, I'm just kind of buffing it in here into the crease. And in this case, I don't mind if it's a little messy because I feel like when it's too perfect, it can look a little bit like pageant makeup. So it's okay that we're not super perfect here. Okay, now I'm gonna take this shade right here, this more sparkly shade, and we're gonna add that to the center. And what's nice is that kind of distracts from the lack of blending, kind of pulls the eyeliner and the eyeshadow together, and it gives a little bit of that sparkle. I don't usually love sparkle, but for something like this, I think it's really pretty. I'm gonna take this lightest shade here. I'm just gonna add that more towards the inner corner, like this. So I'm going to take the same duo, the Charlotte Tilbury, and I'm going to add this to the waterline. So you get a little bit of glow there. I'm just going to dot a little of that black along the bottom. Just to connect the two really gently, and then smudge. Get a little bit of the darkest shade here and just soften that. Okay, let me add some mascara and let's see where we are. And I went in with the Tower 28 mascara. It's such a lovely one. And I also went in with a little bit of the Laura Mercier, the corrector side, just to clean up the corners there like I always do. I took a bit more of this just to put it in the crease, but now I want to go in with this pinkier shade, and I'm gonna take that, add it right under the brow, blend everything in. So I'll show you because I just wiped a little of that way. So taking that and then just going right here above like that, and then just going back and forth. Just like I would with a brush. I like using my clean hands with this formula. I feel like you can be really precise. Definitely have that smokiness going there, which I think is so pretty. I do want to try and brighten this area though. So taking that number 45 again, brush, I'm going to take the Charlotte Tilbury in 8 this time. It's a bit lighter, a bit brighter, and I'm going to target that right here. This very fine edge here, and just apply it right there. And again, over here. Now for blush, I'm really excited for the blush. We have here the Pat McGrath, and I talked about this in the, oh gosh, oh, was it the Will I Buy It video, I think? And I decided to pick it up finally because it looked so beautiful. Really pretty packaging here. Well, there's a mirror in here and you have 4 blushes, which all look really pretty. So we'll see how many we can put on here. And then you have this highlight. This first, just a little pop of color. So I'm gonna try and put them all on. This is one of those melt into the skin kinds of blushes, I can tell. Pretty. Okay, I'm gonna take now this shade and I'm going to apply that in a wider area, just kind of like around the blush I just applied. I always like to stipple it first so I'm not moving anything around. And then let's take this lightest shade here. And I'm gonna go all the way to the front because it's got a little bit of peach in it, so it should be fine up here. And it has a bit of a glow to it, that shade. Pretty. I'm gonna take a little bit of my powder just to kind of tone that down a bit. So I'm gonna go in with a pretty bold lip here in a minute. Okay, let's just put a little bit of the highlighter on, just a little bit. Got a pinkier tone to it. It's a lovely blush palette. And then let's just take a little bit of this deepest shade just to see how that looks. I'm gonna apply it right here. Okay, let me go do something with my hair and then we're gonna put on the lipsticks. Okay, so I went with more of like a tousled hair thing, not super perfect, kind of like the eye, not super perfect. Because I feel like when I put on a red lip, that's a lot right there. I like the contrast between something like this. Oh yeah, I turned this necklace around. This was something I got at an antique store, gosh, 15 years ago, something like that. So I just turned it around because it has this really pretty clasp on it. I'll see if I can find anything like it, but yeah, it's an antique. So this is a lip that I thought might be really pretty for if you want to do a bold eye with a more neutral lip. So this is a Dior Rouge and it's in 683. I thought it was a really pretty shade. Really hydrating formula. So I do like a more casual lip with a bold eye. I think that's really pretty. So that's an option. If you don't usually wear a lot of makeup, but you want to do something bold and only want to have one bold feature, I think this was really, really pretty. I feel like this is a really great lip if you're going to an event that involves eating a meal because it's gonna be really easy to reapply. It's not gonna end up all over the place if you are using a napkin. So I think this is a good option, especially if it's a longer event and you want your makeup to be really comfortable. I think this is a great option. Let's go for the next one. This is in 999 Velvet, and this is a red. You can see it right here. It's a beautiful shade. It's more that velvety kind of finish. So let's remove this and then put this on. This is gonna be really a centerpiece kind of lip. I'm gonna use a little bit of this concealer, and this is gonna be a great brush for that, the number 45. I'm gonna use that to clean up as well because sometimes red can be a little tricky, so I'm using the corrector side. I'm just gonna take a little on the brush, you know, around the perimeter. So you can see how that dramatically changes the entire look and why I feel like a little bit less perfect really works well with a bold statement lip like this. Now for the fragrance, which this whole thing was built on. It's called By the Fireplace. It's by Maison Margiela. The fragrance description is burning wood and chestnut. So one of the reasons I did the hair a little bit imperfect, the eyes a little bit imperfect, is because I feel like something like this can look quite severe if done to perfection. So I like this as well because it introduces like a cozier kind of feel to this look. And that's really what I was going for. Something festive, something of the holidays, but also a little bit cozy, even though this is not a cozy kind of look. But I think that's a nice juxtaposition for something like this red lip. I love here that it says memory in a fragrance because that to me is what I love most about fragrance. I love when I can picture something because of the fragrance, and I definitely picture that with this. And of course I tried it earlier. So that's how I came up with this look, because I wanted to just get the essence of this fragrance and build something around that. So I'm going to read here the notes because I'll tell you what they say and then what I get from it. So it's a warm and spicy fragrance family. The scent type is warm and sweet gourmand, and that is not typically something I gravitate towards unless it's a vanilla scent, which reminds me of baking, which reminds me of the holidays. Keynotes are clove oil, chestnut, accord, and vanilla accord, and I can really sense that vanilla, and I think that's what gives it that warmth without being too heavy, too sweet. This warm scent combines orange flower, clove oil, chestnut atop comforting vanilla fragrance to recreate the signature warmth and coziness of a crackling fire. So you can see how that coziness is built in here without being too sweet or too sugary, because again, those are not scents that I like, but I love that this has that orange flower. I love that. That's a really clean scent to me. Kind of a bright scent. And then it has this wood crackling kind of effect, which is that cozy piece that just adds to the vanilla and keeps it really sophisticated. So I hope you enjoyed that Get Ready With Me inspired by a fragrance. I think this was such a fun thing to do. Let me know if you want me to try this again, because I definitely get an image in my mind when I smell fragrance, especially ones that I really love. It really just paints a picture for me, and then I can put a look together. So again, the sophisticated nature of this fragrance plus the softness, I think we were able to do that today. As for this palette, I really thought it performed quite well. These are lovely shades, very wearable, something I would pull for daily. So it's not something that I think is just reserved for the holidays. It's a gorgeous palette, so make sure to pick that up if you were interested. Definitely recommend it, especially as a blush lover. These brushes are beautiful, so I'd love to pick up the third concealer brush at some point, because as you know, I have darkness and I think that would be really great for it. So I'm gonna look for that brush, and then I'll have my full collection of concealer specific brushes, which I really, really love, because I think concealer deserves that. It's such an important piece of makeup, especially for me, that if you can get a brush that will make the concealer even better, I'm really a big fan of that kind of a thing. The lipsticks that I used, I loved the first lip that I put on. I thought it was really pretty. I think it does depend on what I'm doing. If this is like a quick cocktail party, I would probably wear this red lip, because I don't have to really mess with it as much. But if I'm going to a sit down dinner, it's gonna be a long night, I would definitely go with the lighter shade, because I thought that was really pretty easy to reapply. And then this powder was really lovely. Again, very unique kind of feeling on the skin, very cooling, but it's the most non-powdery powder I've ever tried. Really lovely, and something that I don't already have. So I'd also recommend that one to those who do not like powder, but also want to do some setting and maybe make it look a little bit more cohesive. I think that's a really pretty one. And remember, Sephora has 20% off full-size fragrance during their Fragrance for All event. Again, FRAGRANCE20 gets you 20% off full-sized fragrance. So make sure to head over either in-store or online, Sephora and Sephora at Kohl's. And let me know if you decide to do a fragrance-inspired look, because I think that's a really creative way to look at makeup. And again, a huge, huge thank you to Sephora for sponsoring this video. But that is it for today's video, so please take care of each other. Stay well if you enjoyed this video. If you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time.